to bring up our guest. Today we're going to talk about community, and I think community is such an important part of what we do as social media experts or practitioners. I brought in a speaker that I believe it really has learned the hard way and the fast way over the last year how to build a community. Really, in a lot of ways, Amy is still in that process. I wanted to bring her in at this point because her community has exploded. How many of you are part of one of Amy's online communities that are here today? All right, so we have a few. Great, thanks for coming out, guys. I met her actually through her community as well. And it was that's how I found her. And as I've watched her grow this community, I've seen her go through a number of different things, both painful and also really great things that she's doing. So I wanted to kind of unpack what she's doing, but I also, how many of you here build communities as part of your job description? Raise your hands high so I can see how many you are. Okay, so there's a plethora of people in this room who are building communities as well. So I'd like to have enough time at the end for us to have a really great discussion and share exchange of ideas of what you're doing in your communities as well, what's working for you, and so on. By the end of this, summarize it all. Usually I have a PowerPoint up here, so I wanted to just make sure I said to you, our hashtag today is SMBHOU, so make sure you tweet a lot. Amy's Twitter handle is Gold Buying Girl, so Gold Buying Girl. And we'll talk a little bit about how she came about to this. So Amy's is Gold Buying Girl, very interesting story about her business. And mine is KamiChat, KamiChat. So if you can put those in your tweets, that'd be great. And we can follow along later. And I'm hoping I will be able to pull them all together and on Monday recap everything for you guys and put it into a blog post. So that's my promise to you. How does that sound? Okay, good. All right, so here we go, fast times. Okay, so Amy is the founder and president of the Gold Buying Girl. It's a Houston-based company she started in 2008 with only $500 and the support of her husband, which is great. We'll talk about that in a minute. Last year, the Gold Buying Girl bought more than $15 million worth of gold. So we'll talk a little bit about what she does there and how that works. So she's made a very successful business. And so anyway, she's built this community, and there's been, it's not all roses. There's pain points too. So I just want to start by asking you a first question. Why did you start the community? I mean, what was your motivation for starting the community? I mean, was it to build your business, or did you have other motivations?
Well, I had a couple of motivations. It was to build my business.
Could you talk a little bit about what you mean by support each other? Like, what do you see as supportive? I mean, what do you guys do?
People ask questions. Someone had a business about import-export. They wanted to know, have you done this before? Can you help me with this? Somebody else, I think we talked about book publishing on the page. People wanted to know, how do they do it? Have people done this before? People have asked for divorce attorneys or support.
That's a little bit sad.
Yes,
but true.
But then I've had attorneys in the group just throw it out there and say, I'm here if you need a phone call or want to call me. I will give you my guidance, whatever. In fact, she put herself out there for like a week during the holidays to just call in and ask, call her and she will give you free advice. So there's a lot of information you can get there if you just ask. Sometimes I notice though, if people ask a question, I have to be the one to ask it and pin it to the top to get the answers because it might get lost in the news feed. And I also don't let people refer people or post things in there that come from somebody that's not a member of the group. It has to be your business. You can't be promoting somebody else's business. And I think that makes a difference too, that we're promoting each other, not outsiders. But if you join the group, we'll gladly promote you. It's just, you have to be in the group. And that's how it works, I think. And people, I know a lot of people, this is funny, I know a lot of people look at my page but don't interact. But then I'll run into them and go, I've been watching your page. I'm like, well, why don't you say something? Why don't you get in there and make a comment? Apparently you don't need anything yet, but it's been working.
Yeah, so you don't just do this online though, right? So let's talk a little bit about the offline component to your community building, because it is a local Houston-based community, okay? So this is a Houston-based group. So can you talk a little bit about how you do that and how you're doing that?
When I first started the group, and I think I was about I'll tell you what, I started in August, and in September, somebody mentioned, let's have a meetup. So, of course, we did a meetup at a wine bar. Who doesn't want to go to a wine bar? So we had, I think, about 40 women show up that evening. It was a bad, rainy night, and they showed up. So that was another proof that people want to gather and meet each other, not only online, they want to meet each other in person and get to know each other or see what they can do for each other. So that's how that started. And afterwards, after speaking with everybody that night, I started luncheons. And we have monthly luncheons, and I think I have at least 6 meetup luncheons every month somewhere in the city. And it keeps expanding. In fact, one of my to-be area leaders is here today that's probably going to start the Heights group. But people wanted to get together, and that's what makes it even a bigger community. They want to get together and meet each other. So I've put together venues. I have topics at every venue. I have coordinating speakers. If any of you would like to speak, we always want people to speak to pertinent subjects that will help us in business, help us to be successful, help us to move forward, help us to write books. And we work on things, we just don't network, but we talk about things that are pertinent to help us be successful. And that's what I want this group to be about.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, when I first saw that she started having all these meetups all over the city, I thought, wow, that is very ambitious. I was like, I'm not sure if that's going to work. But she started doing it, and I mean, she does it south, north. I mean, she's everywhere. I mean, Woodlands, Katy,
But I also
Sugarland.
have people that want to be the lead of this group.
Correct. So that's where, I mean, but you didn't do that right away. First, she was doing it all herself. So I thought, wow, that's interesting. So as this evolves, see what happens when you have a community that grows exponentially fast, like Amy's has, is you have to kind of make things up as you go along. And she's done a great job of that, which is why I have her here today, because I really think that I want to bust out all the myths that you can't have a community, you know what I'm saying? Because you can. So could you talk a little bit about like when you started feeling overwhelmed and sort of where you came up with your idea to expand to include more people in this process?
Well, first of all, you absolutely can have your own community and make it work. I did get very overwhelmed at first, but when I had the first meetup and it was in the Memorial area, after the first gathering at the wine bar, we had a luncheon. Women would just come up to me and say, what can I do to help? And they'd say, is there one in this part of town? Can we have one over here? So that's how it started to grow. And then when I can't be everywhere at every time. You can't. But they will come to you, and I think I've built a group where people go, I want to do this. I want to do this. How can I help? I want to be a part of this. So that's what it's turned into, and it's just kind of snowballed. I have probably 3 more chapters in the city I'm going to open or start meetups, but that will give us at least 8 meetups a month, every month throughout the city. But people want to be there, and people want to participate and help make it work.
Great. And at first, of course, you did this all like it was a free model, kind of like we do for social media breakfast. There's a free model, come, to hear about, network. Sort of, you're moving away from that a little bit. So explain kind of why and sort of what the model is going to be next for business, from a business perspective.
Well, this isn't really, it is one of the reasons, but not really. My husband said, I hope you're getting paid for this, because he saw how much I was on organizing everything and putting it together and just constantly on Facebook, just commenting or just organizing or putting events. You don't realize how long it even takes to put an event up on, get it out there and just cut and paste the link and put it out. It's work. And I did get people to help me, but then I realized I want a certain type of person. I want to go to the next level. And, everything can't be free. And our time is worth something. Whatever we do is worth something. So I put it out there, and people said, you provide such a good service, I will gladly pay for this. And that's how it started. It started to evolve. And so at first I let it still go till it was free until the end of December. And as of January 1st, I would give people a chance to join. And by the end of the year, I think I had probably close to 70 people out of this group, but more are coming because now they're going, oh, now it's paid, and I really want to see what's going on. It must be important. So now they're coming, and I said, you can come visit, see what we do. If it's a benefit to you, then please join. And that's what we're getting. So now it's snowballing again. And once they see what they're getting for what their money is going to get them, then they understand. I think they get a better idea, and I think it's working.
So how did you kind of settle on a price point for joining the community?
Well, one thing you always have to think about, never underprice yourself. People want to understand that they're getting value. And I wanted to make it affordable in a certain way that wasn't going to hit you dramatically in your pocketbook, like for one annual fee, but I decided a monthly membership, a sign up, and it would just be an automatic draft. So you didn't have to put up like $300, which most of these things do cost. And it was just, I think it's an easier way for people to take a membership. And there's an initial startup fee, which was
$60, I think.
$67, but it is, what happened too is I got a lot of PMs on Facebook. I couldn't join before the 31st. Can you please extend it? So I'm going to extend it through January, because then it's going to go up to $150 plus the monthly fee. But they get a lot of value. I do conference calls. I have speakers. If they miss something, they can jump on a call and get the information that they lost. I just have a landing page now. The website isn't complete yet, but all this information is going to be up there. The blog, they can be guest bloggers. There's a lot more coming to them in the next year for for the membership fee.
Right. And it was like something, I think it was $17 a month.
$17 a month, $67 to join up, and $17 a month.
So,
and I'm going to continue that through the end of January. Then it's going to bump up again.
So, I mean, it's an interesting model. And I think there's a lot of different ways to start communities and do them. How many of you have paid communities in the room? Hands high so we can see you. Could you tell me, I just want to hear from all of you what they are. So what's yours? Yes?
We're starting a Houston chapter of an international women's networking group called Elevate. It used to be called 85 Broad since we launching.
So Elevate, which is for women also? International. An international group.
I hope to grow mine internationally.
Yeah, that would be awesome, right? How about you, Elizabeth?
We have groups for authors, for business owners, and for nonfiction authors, fiction authors.
Yeah, so they have a bestseller in a weekend program where you can learn how to write a book in a weekend, and they have a private group where you can ask all the questions like, how do I get my book on Kindle, and how do I do this? I mean, it's paid. I also, does somebody else have one back here? I saw, yeah.
We have a private group for social media marketers.
And it's a paid group.
Yes.
Okay, so they have a private social media marketers group, and so there's a lot of groups that are out there. How many are in a group? How many have joined a group where you pay to be in it on a monthly basis? Anybody? In this group? Yeah, so there's a few of you too. So I mean, there's just like this huge, what I would call the dark web, of all these groups and communities. And it's funny as a public relations person, because I'm always looking for communities to network with and talk to. And the public ones are not the one. It's not where it's happening. You know what I'm saying? Often it's the private groups where it's happening. How many are joined into a group on Facebook that you feel is very effective, that you kind of live for? Okay, so if you don't, I have several like that. I mean, it makes my job easier. If I hit a wall, I can ask a question and get it answered. So communities are really important. Why did you choose Facebook?
Well, Facebook is free, and I knew there were a lot of other communities I could reach out to see if other women were interested in doing what I was doing, and that was to network. And I would post that I've started this group, and here's the link, and here's how you could join. And that's how I started getting more people interested to seeing what we do and how we did it. And, you just said something about belonging to other groups, and I saw a lot of these groups online. And what I noticed, I would see a lot of people in the same groups. I'd see their names, and I quit following them because, first of all, I was wasting my time. These groups weren't doing anything for me. I realized I was just starting to pay attention to the groups that had something to really offer, or it wasn't the same people posting all the time. And that's where, those are the groups I didn't want to be in, but I realized how I wanted to make my group. So I didn't want to be the same as all these other things I saw that I don't think are working. And I think you can belong to too many groups. You can't possibly pay attention to that many. You can belong to too many networking groups in person. You can't possibly do that. It's like having too many businesses. Like one time, one girl came to one of my meetups, and I asked her what she did. And she said, well, she literally named 5 things. And I said, how can you do 5 things? You cannot be effective at in 5 different areas. I could see possibly doing 2. One, I'm doing 2, but you can't do any more than that. You really can't to be effective. You'll spread yourself too thin. So you have to realize what's working for you and what's not. If it's not working, then don't do it. Get rid of it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Could you tell us some of the pitfalls that you've run into putting together a group like this?
Well, what I realized is I do have, and not very many of them are the ones, oh, now we have to pay. Yes, you do. I bring a lot of good information to the table. I've supplied, resources. I still have the page, the large group, that is not, they haven't converted over yet, but they're still getting a lot of benefit from the page. They still get things, but for them, but they're not showing up in person. And I think you get a lot more benefit when you show up in person to be in a group. You get the synergy is better and you'll get more from it. You'll still benefit from the page, but absolutely in person, there's more.
And you have 2 pages now, right? So you have the public or kind of explain how you're managing this.
I have the large group page, which I first started, called Women Helping Women to Network in Houston and Resources. And then I started Women Helping Women to Network. And that's a private page for those that joined. But I have a community page, which is a fan page. So people can see the fan page and just kind of see what's going on. It's like a business page. So I actually manage the 3 pages.
So the page that you've had all this time, the private page, the community page, the page that's
the big group page,
and resources, the group page. Are you going to be moving everybody over and eventually kind of discontinue that page, or what's your thoughts?
I'll still keep it going because it does help people, but I think as more and more go, they keep moving over to the paid group and to see what's going on, and they want to get in, and they don't want to miss anything because there's a lot of really good activity going on. You get a different, it's just like when people have a private group, you just get a lot more solid information and participation about solving a problem and what they want to see, or how what I'm really asking now in the private page is, how do you want this group to be? What do you want to see from it? And that's what you really get, that intense conversation, and I really like that.
Yeah, so it's also smaller. So talk a little bit about the small, you are a little bit already, but small groups versus big groups. I mean, do you think the big groups, it still has a lot of value and kind of the different ways they have value?
Well, sometimes I think you can get lost in a big group. But the smaller groups, even to me, 40 or 50 people is still a good sized group when you have people showing up. But you get the camaraderie. I always try, when I start my meetings, I usually start them from 11 to 1. I want you to come there. I want you to walk around the room. I want you to introduce yourself and get your start a relationship. I give everybody homework too after they leave. You've already met at least 5 people at this meetup today. You can easily have coffee with them or get to know them better, because it works. It really works if you get to know the person. I'm truly a believer in relationship building businesses. That's how it works. You just can't go in and meet somebody for the first time and expect to get business out of them. And I've been networking. My background before gold buying, before this, was the personnel business. So I was a very good networker. But I can always tell when I'm in a room talking to somebody and they glaze over. Like I've either lost their attention or they've lost mine, and they'll walk away because they know they're not getting anything from you, so they're going to leave. Well, that's not the kind of network I want. I'm building one where we all help each other in some way or another. It will come back to you. You can, I might not want your business today, but I might know somebody else that does. And maybe in a few months I'll go, oh, I remember Maria. I want, she's in the Heights. You can list your house with her in the Heights, or somebody else that has another service. And it's just, that's the way true, genuine networking works.
Yeah, and so could you talk a little bit about we're talking about the in-person part, but also the email part. So we've got the Facebook group, we've got the in-person events. Could you talk a little bit about the email side? You're building a list to kind of explain what you're doing with your email.
Well, building a newsletter and just getting the word out there, the updates of what we're doing and what you could be participating in. And I still want the community that hasn't bought into my membership to still know what's going on. I mean, they can come and visit and see what we do. They can peek in the door, and then they can decide if they want to come in and pay the membership fee. But you get a lot more added value if you do join in and participate. I think and I learned this the hard way, but it's so important to build an email list. It's incredibly important. It's like money in the bank, and it's like a savings account. They might not want you now, but later on down the road. And I've tried to, in business, I've consulted with a few businesses and even girls that work for me in the gold buying business. I've tried to tell them, keep these contacts. I use them. You need to build your own network, and later on something may come back to you, and start your newsletters to get it going out there. But it's very important that you have an email list.
Yeah, and so you just put up a website. So website was not your first thing, right? So
No, it
you
wasn't.
did not do that first. So you're working on that now.
Well, I just have a landing page, and I think we got a little bit put behind with the holidays and a few illnesses.
Yours?
One of mine included. And so the landing page is just up there, but the web page is, the site is being built. More should be up this weekend. I've already got a back office in place for the members that are there that can go in the back office. I'm starting to put in documents, but there'll be more there. You're going to see I'm actually taking pictures this weekend to put up on the site. But there's a lot more going on, and a lot more added value will be coming. But I realized also the landing page is very important. I couldn't just keep talking about this. I had to have something up there and tell them what they, show you in a way what you're going to get for what you pay if you come into this community. And it's done well. I'm really surprised at how well it's done.
Yeah, and it's a great page, actually. I mean, you say it's just a landing page, but you've got a lot up there. I think it's good. So you do these live meetings. What have been the drawbacks to these live meetings in your mind? I mean, obviously what have been the problems you've run into for somebody who's trying to do this?
I haven't really seen that many drawbacks to it, but you always have to, when you do these meetings, you have to have an outline. It just can't be willy-nilly and come in there. You have to have a protocol, an agenda, and how you're going to run the business. Or run the meeting. First of all, I'll tell you, I want everybody to meet each other. Then I give everybody their 30-second commercial. Your 30-second commercial is so important. You need to get that down. If you need to capture your audience in the first 30 seconds and let them know who you are and what you're doing, and also what's in it for them, not for you. So 30-second commercial is one of the most important things you can do. And then afterwards, after we go through that, I've tried. Even before I start charging people, I would have speakers come. And Cammie, you were one of my first speakers. You had everybody in the room. They had their heads down, taking their notes, doing their homework, making sure they didn't miss anything, because Cammie was the expert on social media, and they love getting your tips. And anyway, it was a very good meeting. But I would bring, even before I start charging them, I brought speakers to every meeting. And so they left with something. They knew there was value in that meeting after they left. And then what I started to do with some of the speakers is I would do a conference call. Would you please participate in a conference call afterwards for those that couldn't make the meeting? And I would post it on the Facebook page and say, hey, if you missed this, this is what you got, this is what you can see. You can jump in Monday night at 8 o'clock. It'll be from 8 to 8:30. Here's the call-in number. And you can ask Cammie what you've participated, other people participated. So I bring that to the table.
And you recorded those too, so that they can come back and listen to them later if they can't come during that time. Yeah. So, I mean, just a lot of value you've put out there. And one of the problems I did see for you or has seen is this issue of knowing how many people are going to show up.
Oh, that's another thing. I will tell you. Okay. That is one of my pet peeves. And I post, sometimes I rant on the page, just a small rant, but I'll say, we're professional people. If you are not going to be there, you have a smartphone. We all have a smartphone. Change your RSVP. And that tells a lot about a person. It really does. In business, for years and years, it's always, if I said I was going to be there, I'm going to be there. But I will tell you one thing that really got me, before I even start charging anybody, a member who graciously opened her home for an event at Halloween and put an event on the page, and almost 40 people were going to show up. She bought wine and food and everything. 6 people showed up. I was so furious. The next day I went through the whole list. I saw who didn't show, and I kicked him off the page. And I thought, if you can't, and I almost called him out on the page. And
Glad you didn't do that.
I know, but I was like, oh,
hold yourself out.
I know, I could do it, but I was like, but I posted, I said, I've taken some people off the page for this. This is very unprofessional. And I know things happen at the last minute. You're always going to have some fall off, but you don't have that many. And like I said, we all have smartphones. There's no excuse. There really isn't any excuse.
So yeah, I mean, that might be considered unpopular, but I would say for a lot of your community, they were actually quite happy with what you did there, which is kind of maybe counterintuitive to what you think.
They loved it. Yeah. They loved it. They, you know, I mean, I'm sure you have it happen to you. It always happens in a way, but you can't.
None of you ever do that. You're the best. Right?
But think about it.
I won't kick you out.
We are all professional people in this room, and we all try to conduct ourselves in a professional way. I just think RSVPs are very important. You live up to your word. It's part of your, you know, things do happen, but it's one of my pet peeves is RSVPing and not showing.
Well, especially if you've paid money. So, you know.
But these people weren't paying money.
Well, she did, though.
Oh, well, she paid.
Your member did. So I do want to ask like a couple of questions to the audience. Some of you may have very different communities. I know that Elizabeth does, for example. Can you talk a little bit about like how you handle people that, you know, are on your page as far as like rules and things? Could you come up here, because I want to just ask. I'm going to start opening it up and questioning that kind of thing.
Sure. Here. Okay. Hello, everyone. You guys all met me at the door. My name is Elizabeth Hamilton, and I'm the business manager for Bestseller in a Weekend. What we do is we help business owners and thought leaders create books in a quick and efficient manner. And one of the ways we do that is by supporting them through our private Facebook groups. And as you were saying about the rules, it's really important to make sure everybody follows the rules. So what we do is for our group header at the top of the page, we have the rules clearly listed. If you have a question, want an answer, tag somebody. Because I mean, face it, if you don't tag anybody, you're going to get lost in all the chatter that goes on Facebook. No selling. That's really important. That reminds me, somebody got into our page by accident. It was a rival book writing company, and they had the nerve to post their sale in our private Facebook group. It's like, excuse me? So you can imagine that person got kicked off quickly. And but we do encourage everyone to promote their books, their own businesses, of course, as long as it's not a book writing thing. But you have to be very consistent. You have to be very clear about what you're doing, what the purpose of your group is, and why they are there. We have had people, and another one is no fighting within the group.
No drama.
No drama, no. Put your drama on the page. You're writing a book, so you've got plenty of room for it in the pages, not in the group. And I mean, you do have to be kind of mean. I mean,
and the rules are very important. I just now have started posting the rules at the very top. It's the banner at the top of the page.
Yeah, without those rules, you have chaos within your group. So that's our big thing, is just enforcing the rules, making sure they're posted. Another thing we really are big on is Facebook chats. Every week we have a posted time, and during that posted time, I and Alicia Dunhams, who is our trainer and founder, we will take questions from the group. We'll answer them immediately, and it just really builds a lot of energy within the group, because all of a sudden they're seeing all these posts and all these things in their feed, and they're like, hey, I really need to go to the Facebook group and check out what's going on there. So that's another thing I would really recommend. If you have Facebook, if you can do Facebook chats, that really increases your members' participation and their commitment to the group. We found that people who are committed to the group tend to spend 4 to 5 times more buying our products, attending our events, than people who are not committed to the group.
So what do you do on your chat?
Yeah, and the other thing that's great, and because I actually noticed the chat this week for the first time, and I thought, ooh, cool. But one of the things that I think is really interesting about that too, from a time management standpoint, that's what I always think about, is that if you do these chats, wow, you know, Alicia she's not on that page all the time. Really, Elizabeth is. She's the one. And that's how I kind of got to know her. And the truth is that people want to talk to Alicia about certain things. So this makes it a very focused amount of time that Alicia has to be available. I like that a lot. And also a one thread, so she doesn't have to find it buried in the page. So tell her about what you do.
Okay. So to do a Facebook chat, what we do is we've made a badge that lists the time the chat will be available, how to conduct yourself during the chat, and we post it at the top of the page during the chat time. And what people do is they just comment on that badge or that picture. And then Alicia and I go through all the comments and we just answer as many of them as we can in an hour. And of course, I mean, if we can't get to all of them within an hour, we always answer them. It just might not be within that hour period. So
Yeah, that's great.
That's great. So that's another really great idea. Just gonna take a picture of you. Say cheese. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, you're waiting for the picture. I thought you had something to say. So does anybody have any questions about like some ideas or yeah? Oh, it's bestseller in a weekend. You can just look it up that way. They also have a public page. That's what you'll see. What she's talking about is the private Facebook group that you have to be a member in order to be a part of. Does anybody have any questions like about groups in general or?
Like I know with the Facebook algorithms saying that, how do you reach out to to your audience since it's changed a lot?
So all the changes in Facebook. How do you reach out to your audience? I know some of it is they have to actually be your personal friends, but anyway, go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
Well, at first, Facebook changes the rules all the time. And when I would invite people to an event on the group page, all of a sudden it stopped. You had to be my friend in order to be invited to. So I asked people to friend me in order for them to be able to be included. But I would always post these events. And I'd cut and paste the link and post it again at the top of the page and keep it up there. And then I'd go post it on other pages. There's other community pages that will let you do that. And so they could learn about the meetups and what we were doing or learn about the page. But yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's a lot of work.
It's also, I mean, for us, I definitely have a lot of you as my personal friends, and I put you in a group. I mean, you're all in the Houston social media breakfast group or whatever. And then, like for this meeting, because it was so right after the holidays, right? So how am I going to get everybody to know right after the holidays? I also, I mean, Amy put it up in her group, which was really helpful. And then also, I put an ad on it. I spent $5.45 on you people. Just want you to know. And it reached 44 people. And 12 of you responded through the ad. So to me, that was success, right? So the ads are out there, the boosting of the things. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to boost a post. I mean, if you really need it to be seen, you can pay the money. So that's another way you can do it.
Well, I asked a lot of people to share it, and I kept sharing it from the community page. I, tried to share it as much as I could, but like I said, you have to, keep putting it out there to certain areas.
The other thing I will also say to that is that if you have a really strong community, like Amy does, and I believe that this group does, oftentimes you all will share with your friends. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so you can go onto the thing and say, share this event, and then you pick a few people, say, hey, such and such and such and such, you should come. And that works really well. I think Amy Whittle, if she's still in here, she didn't have her phone, so she might have run. But anyway, she does that a lot for us in this group, and she has a lot of personal friends too. So anytime you guys want to add your personal friends to our event, I'm sorry, that's a plug. So, but I do think that does help. It does help if people are committed to the community together.
That's true if they're committed, but constantly I say share this or do this, and they don't always do it. But if
Not their job.
yeah, but now as the community is growing and people are coming to the meetings, they really want to do more to help because I think they believe in this group.
Yeah.
One of the things too is that whenever you're going to a group or whenever you say you might go to a group, if you put in a comment as to why you're going to go, it will entice others to follow you as well too.
So she said that if in a comment when you're sharing an event, if you explain why you're going in your social media update, often people will be like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I want to go there too. So if I just said social media breakfast on Friday, what's in that for you? I don't know. I mean, I'm very careful about how I put together the subject lines when I send out the emails, for example. I want you to know what we're talking about. And I put that first. I made some early mistakes in that regard. And you just learn. You learn as you go along, as you're building your community, what they want. Yeah.
So far, everything that we've talked about has been based on Facebook as the platform. At what point have you considered moving this? I mean, you mentioned earlier that you've got a website up and coming. What platform are you looking at for that? Are you going to migrate everybody from Facebook to that platform?
I'm trying to do that, and that's why I'm keeping the big group. They, that's like a tickler page. They get to see what's going on, and if they really want more, then they go to they pay to go to the next step. So it's really a way for you to get out there and get some more audience or get some more membership that way. But it's just pushing them. It shows them what they're missing out on too if they don't go into the paid membership.
Yeah, and I would say this. I mean, she's kind of early in her development, no doubt. And I will say this: I've built a lot of groups. What I will say is that you can build one on LinkedIn. It tends to be spammy unless you rule it with an iron hand, just like she does. So you're going to have to put as much work into that as anything. Or if you use Infusionsoft, or what is the platform you guys use?
We use Simplera, but we prefer Facebook more than the
Right.
website because people live on Facebook.
Yeah, people live on Facebook. Like, so Simplero is what they have. I'm looking at New Rainmaker. I'm using some stuff on New Rainmaker. I'm building a community right now, which you guys will learn about more. I try not to promote it to you too much, but I'm going to be building a community that's online that has like videos and tutorials. And so I'll be talking to a lot of you over the next year or so while I'm building this community. But that is, I always see that as the backup to what goes on the regular social network, because here's the thing: people live in these things. They look at them on their phone on a daily basis. The barrier to getting somebody to go sign up and put their login credentials in and go into an online website to connect with other people is really high. I mean, it's like pushing a humongous boulder up the hill. I've tried to do it many, many, many times, and that's why Ning kind of failed in my opinion. But so there's a lot of things that, and not failed, they're still there, but I'm just saying not many people use it for that reason. So unless you have like a super connected group, like say you have a certain cancer type and you have a group that's all the same cancer kind of survivors or people that are going through that process, that's a high motivation to go and log in onto a website and have a conversation there. But if you don't have something like that that's that compelling, yeah, I'd stick with Facebook or LinkedIn or somewhere where you think your audience is on a regular basis. And then I belong to the Women's Speakers Association. And one of the things I like that they do, they have a website and they have an internal page like that, but they also have community. And one of their main navigation places, you click on it, it takes you to their Facebook group, their secret Facebook group that you have to be a member to join. So you don't see the link to the secret group until you actually are in the membership part of the page, if that makes sense to you. So it's part of their membership page in a sense. On navigation and UX, I mean, we could talk about that forever. Not so much because you can't get back to the page so easily, but you can put a lot of links on your group to your private page and drive people back there to get the things that they want. So you're going to want to put really valuable things on that closed website. You're going to have videos that they want to see or courses they want to take or whatever they paid for, PDFs they can download, whatever that is, that's going to be on that main page. But then you're going to use your Facebook group or your LinkedIn group. And guess what? Someday Facebook make groups completely irrelevant.
That's why I was asking.
So you need to build it in both places. But as far as that's why the email list is so very important.
It's very important. And one of the things I'm putting on my webpage also is I'm giving away, if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get 10 power networking tips. And that's coming to the page, which that's one of the things I speak to in groups as power networking and how you do it. So, I'm giving something away free for them to come and join my group.
So important to give them something, making them worth it to go there. Yeah.
So do you ever do any follow-up with people that browse by your page? I mean, can you capture those people like me? Like I stalk your page or whatever. So do you ever follow up with people like me?
Do you mean on Facebook or on?
Yeah.
Do you follow up with people that are just stalking your page? I'm sorry. That's what I do for a living. Summarize.
No, I haven't followed up with the stalkers. I have a lot to do already, so.
Well, I probably have posted it because I'm not a member.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's probably thousands of us out there that look at your page and go on.
You mean go out to other pages?
So she's saying there's probably thousands of people that look at your page and they may talk once or twice and then they move on. How do you manage that? How do you capture those?
I really don't capture that, and it's too hard. It's too hard to do. I do a lot of work already, but
Yeah.
how do you capture those people? You
Well,
just
I mean,
keep
what
talking
you
back
do
to
is
them?
you give them exactly what she just said. You give them a reason to join your emailing list, because there's no way on social media that you're going to be able to see everything that comes by. Does anybody else have a good way of capturing people that are come to their communities or pages or have seen such a thing? Yes.
We, for people who actually leave comments, we have like 4 or 5 different pages, different social media accounts. If somebody leaves a comment, we do our best to respond to the comment to try to draw them into an interaction.
So just responding to comments when you see them and drawing them into the interaction.
I like that answer.
But that's the answer she has. So yeah.
Well, I do a lot of that, especially at first when people came on the page and they would ask certain questions or whatever. But you see my news feed. There's a lot,
Yes.
and it's a lot to keep up with, and I do the best I can. But
and I think also she's August to now. We're talking about 6 months, 7 of like putting together a community. Elizabeth, how long have you guys been doing that page now?
The group has been around since 2012.
So the group's been around since 2012, and so they've had some time to mature and learn some lessons. And you're going to learn some lessons. And that's why I actually brought Amy in here, because here's the thing, guys. We don't have to have everything solved today, okay? So I want you to know here today that you may not have it all solved. It may not be perfect. But you know, this is a good place for us to start talking about what would be the best practices. And one of the things I do think is really great is you need to capture people into your email list as much as possible, because, you know, let's face it, we're all busy and you guys are busy too. You're not waiting for my invitation to the social media breakfast every month. I'm sure. I mean, there may be a few of you, but I mean, I doubt. Okay, so Fred is, yeah, brown nosing, but other than that, I know you're not. I mean, even if you're my best friend, I know you're not watching my page like a hawk. Do you know what I'm saying? My best friends. And so people that have that expectation, you know, that's difficult. And so when you have people that are coming into your community, many of them might have that expectation. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's good to know that. It's good to know that there's an expectation. And so we try to like respond as quickly as possible. And how do you bring them in? The only way to really truly know you're getting them is to get their email address. So you can then connect with them and then they can email you back and ask you questions, or, you know, it makes it a little easier. There was a question in the back. Was there?
I was just curious, like, so, how much of your whole community has captured emails?
So how much of your total community do you have captured emails for?
I've probably captured 10% of them.
So 10%, because you started later with your email list.
Yes, I did.
So 10% is low, and she's going to have to work on that, which is a good reason why she's got that. No, I'm just saying, because I will say,
I thought it was good.
No, it's great for 6 months. It's great. And when did you start your email list, though?
I actually started it in September.
So 10% is great for September to today. For you all, I can answer the question. We have almost 1,000 emails on the social media breakfast, and if all 1,000 people came here, yeah, no, we'd have to move. So,
But I noticed on your invitation, your event, you couldn't invite that many because they weren't your personal friends, correct?
yeah, we invite about, I mean, I have maybe
Yeah.
250 personal friends.
Okay.
You all
I was
are my
just curious
friends.
because when I first started the page and I had 1,000 people, Facebook would send it out to all 1,000. I mean, it would go to everybody. Everybody was getting the events, and all of a sudden it stopped, and it only went to my friends. And
Yeah,
they won't do anything about it now.
no, that's what they did. They want you to pay for the $5 a day ad. I mean, you know, Facebook is a business, and it's not our business, and we don't own this. We don't own it. So we're going to have to deal with any changes that they make if we stay on Facebook, which I think was the point Jeff was trying to make. So I would just say that, you know, we need to think about that. So anybody else has overcome this problem in a different way besides email? Ads? No? Are you guys using that at all? Ads, email? You have an email, a very strong email list.
We've got a big email list, but we built the email list first.
Yeah, the email was first.
How did you build your email list first?
We have a lot of opt-ins. We do joint
ventures. Joint ventures are actually our biggest way of getting email.
So joint ventures she's talking about, that's where you work with another organization. I've actually seen it. They'll do a webinar, and then they will do a webinar with another person that has a similar but different kind of focus. Like, how do you do better with your time management or something crazy? And then that time management person might have their own course that they're selling. And then they work together, and then they share the email names for the sign up for the webinar, for example. Yeah. Any other questions about like how to build a list or community?
So I'm curious. I use Facebook a lot more than I use email. So what's the big deal about email? I mean,
So what's the big deal about email, she
Yeah.
says? You want to answer that? I could.
I
but
think
yeah,
it's
don't take it
people
over.
can opt out, or people can unfriend you, or take you off of Facebook, or you can no longer see their information. But you've got you can still keep in contact with them by an email, by email newsletter. You know, MailChimp's one of the easiest things to learn or to do. You don't have to pay for it for a while, but you still have them, even
I
though
don't look at it. I don't look at it.
Yeah, so she doesn't look at email, and that's great. I'm going to tell you, though, that also with Facebook, if I send something out to you and you've liked my page, you're not necessarily going to see it.
I know.
It's absolutely not. So that's the big deal with email. Email's not going to solve all problems, but Facebook is also not, unfortunately.
well, you have to have several different things to keep in contact with everybody.
Yeah.
Facebook, emails, podcasts, whatever, you know, to draw on the list. It's a never-ending story.
Rebecca? Yeah.
Well, and from a brand perspective, email is your real estate. And so somebody can always take your Facebook from you, and they can close down tomorrow, and you wouldn't have that proof anymore. Whereas if you have their email address, you have their contact, you have their permission, you have their visibility.
So she says from a brand, I'm just repeating for the online. So Rebecca says that, and then she's absolutely right, that from a branding perspective, we have no control over Facebook. We have no control over Facebook. So really, the only hope is to have an email backup. And also, I mean, I will have to say a web page that's strong and that has some information on it as well.
Well, the other thing also is, like a lot of people in my community work for MLMs. And those MLMs, believe me, they're capturing your emails so they can remarket to you. So I just keep telling these girls, get your own email list. Don't just keep turning it over. You have to take control, because if you leave them, like you said, that's your real estate. You can use it again. It's like another piece of land.
Yeah, rented land. So, yeah. Any other questions? It's tough. I mean, building a community is not for the faint of heart. You do have to be a tough cookie, I would say.
You have to be tough, and you have to be on top of it all the time, especially when you first start it. And now I have recruited officers or admins because you just need to police your pages to have a good page, I think. And you have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
And as it grows comes more problems. I mean, it's good to grow, but you have to deal with all the issues. I think this lady here had a question.
Yeah, I have time for one more question. I actually saw this one first. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. So what's the tip for retaining a large email list? I mean, I don't know.
Me either, but what is your business?
I do.
Okay, then you answer.
Well, you have to cut them off. I mean, you have to look and you have to prune your email list. So if you are getting people that are not opening it and not opening it, get rid of the people that aren't opening it. If they want it really badly, they'll come and resubscribe. Do you know what I'm saying? But you do want to make sure that you're pruning your list so that you have higher open rates and you have a better chance of your emails getting through to people. Also, provide value in your email. Don't just promote in your email. Provide value, especially if you're going to send it more than once a month. You have to provide value, because who of us needs more email? Really? Raise your hand if you need more email, and I will send you all mine. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you've got to provide value.
But also with the value, also the subject line too. I mean, you want a good subject line. I think we all know that. But if you have a subject line that's too long, or a subject that is not, it's going to draw them in. Usually no more than 5 words. I'm sure you know that, but you got to have something that they want to look at.
Well, guys, it is 9:36. I'm going to kind of close this down. I do have some announcements and some other things that we need to do. So please, if you do have more questions, come and grab Amy, me, you can grab Elizabeth or Rebecca or any of these people out here that run communities and ask. Make sure that if you are wanting to start a community, we are happy to talk to you about how and sort of what you need to do, and also share all of our problems too. So thank you very much, Amy, for coming, and I appreciate you doing that. And opening yourself up to all the questions. It's a secret sometimes.
Thank you.
So the other thing I wanted to do is we do have some job announcements right off the bat. And Melissa, yeah, could you come up? Anybody else who has a job announcement? Lloyd, there's a couple people who've messaged me privately. We're going to talk about our job announcements. What we've been doing is putting up the job announcements for the month on the page. So right now it says January job announcements, and every job announcement we've had so far this year, which I already have 2 on the page, are on there, including Lloyd's. And you're going to put yours on soon. So here.
She's cold in here.
It's freezing back there. Hi, I'm Melissa. I work in the mayor's office, and we have an opening, an entry-level position in the mayor's office of communications. You'll be working very closely with the director of communications in the mayor's office. Again, I will stress it's entry-level position, and you can see all of our salaries. It's public information. So, but saying that, it is a great foot in the door. We foster growth in our department, so you are welcome to work on anything, any projects you want to take on. It's not social media heavy, but you'll have an opportunity to work with me and some of the city departments that do handle social media if that's something that you're interested in, or you know someone that would be a great candidate. We're looking for very strong writers. You'll be working on ceremonial documents for the city, as well as if you want to, press releases, talking points for the mayor. She never uses them because she always goes off script. She's really good at public speaking, and she rarely ever uses our talking points that we spend tons of time on. But anyways, Justin and